to this week's show. This is Awesome and Disaster with Will Carey. I am your host, the aforementioned Will Carey. Today, on today's show is a comedian and all-around Renaissance man of the arts, playwright, actor, pianist, Sam Z, everybody. And this was a really good conversation for me on a couple different levels. First off, Sam relays the details of when we first met and his first impressions of me, which is not something that I hear often, how I appear to people when I first meet them. I only find that out years later, and it's probably the reason why I have few friends, but the friends I have are really, really tight-knit. And it's hard to talk sometimes when you're doing these things, but you tend to just kind of connect sentences, and then eventually it comes back together. So Sam and I discuss, in addition to comedy, as well as emotions and interpersonal relationships, as well as a bit of his work history, as well as some theatrical endeavors that we have planned. Sam and I, one thing that we both connect with, our particular disaster, and this is more to the disaster side than awesome, is dealing with the separation of your parents. And this isn't something I talk about a lot. I talk about it in my one-man show, but I've never really been super, super public with it, just because it's hard when you're Facebook friends, honestly, with people that are going to know the people that you're talking about. But because Sam and I eventually told Sam the story for the purposes of the conversation that we had, I figured I should tell you it as well. It's about my dad, and I was mad at my dad for a really long time, and I don't think it was doing me very good in the long run, because if you just have anger and you're kind of defining your moral code by anger at someone else's mistakes, you're eventually going to become exhausted by the energy needed to carry that anger around. So, but ultimately what had happened with me was, when I was in high school, my parents ended up getting divorced, and it was really painful because the day that my dad left for the final time was on Christmas Day, and it made it really hard to not forget it. And especially, and a joke I would say on stage is, I don't know if you know how much it costs to fly on Christmas Day, but you have to really not want to be wherever you are. And that was the only part of the story that I knew for the longest time. And that's still the main part of the story. I'm learning now more of what he went through and what pushed him to do what he did. And my girlfriend is dragging me kicking and screaming into having some understanding for his situation, which at times I am open to and at times I am angry about. But for the sake of my relationship with her, I am trying to open my heart to someone that I had shut off for the better part of a decade, if I can be honest. So you're going to hear the details of this. You'll hear the details of this conversation. I may have mentioned it briefly in the interview with Alexis and Christian from, not sure how many episodes back it would be, but you're going to hear me I'll tell this story to Sam, and then you're going to hear him kind of process it. And another thing that Sam talks about a lot in this episode are masks, because as much as we try to be like ourselves all the time, I don't know if any of us are ever really displaying our true self most of the time. And if that sounds like abstract or overly navel-gazing, think about your interactions with your coworkers, parents, people who call and ask you how comedy is going. And you might feel like you can't really be who you are all the time with certain people. Well, I'm still working to be who I am, really, with you and with myself on stage. Will I get there? I hope so. Or maybe at the very least I can get closer to that, so maybe the work I do on stage is more interesting. That's my goal in 2016. So let's go to my conversation with Sam Z. Now, you may notice a couple of bits of editing at certain points because I believe my SD card filled up, but I got a bigger one, so going forward we won't have that problem. Alrighty. Thank you for listening again. I appreciate you. Let's go to my conversation with Sam Z, everybody.
Pathos, right? I think they're both like Greek words.
Yeah, I
We
think
could
so.
look this up.
Yeah, pathos is like a, it almost sounds like a Greek yogurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Pathos for $4.
That's cheap in Brooklyn,
Super, yeah,
in
you're
Brooklyn
right. That's true.
or New
That's
York
true.
City.
I should up my ante when we're selling this. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll look up pathos since we're on this topic, Sam.
I'm so glad that you have a computer terminal in your office. Well, Carey, this is great. This is everything that I need in a podcasting situation. We can talk about whatever we want. Okay, shall I read? Pathos, a quality that evokes pity or sadness.
Which is, I think,
Look up pathos.
Yeah, I'll look up pathos as well, because pathos, I think this is sort of,
After you get some pathos on you, you got to take a bathos. That's how the
it's just BATHOS.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's see. An effect or anticlimax created by an unintentional lapse in mood from the sublime to the trivial or ridiculous.
Oh, interesting.
So it's
okay,
almost
I feel that. Yeah.
Yeah. Sort of like, makes me think of like Andy Kaufman or
Totally.
like absurdist, like almost character-based stand-up comedy, you know?
Lapse in unintentional lapse, and that's the thing that's getting me, is that it's an unintentional lapse in mood from the sublime to the trivial or ridiculous. I don't know what that
Right,
means.
like everything's, well, to me it sounds like, everything is going great, and then all of a sudden things get weird
So like a Charlie Kaufman
out
movie.
of your control. Yeah.
That moment in the Charlie Kaufman movie when you realize this is not what I thought it was going to be. Or I just read an interview with Charlie Kaufman, and he was talking about how he really likes the infomercials on Adult Swim. You know what I'm talking about? Too Many Cooks, where it like starts out as one thing, and then it just like it's like a sitcom intro, and then all of a sudden it's like this Satanistic ritual, and then it's like this other thing. It's just so many things.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what Too Many Cooks is. What Too Many Cooks is.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
So that makes a lot of sense to me. That I could apply to how most good comedy works for me, is when something is either really like something's very good or status quo, and then it descends into complete chaos or absurdity.
Right. That
Like something like
switch.
Dr. Strangelove.
Yeah, totally.
Where it's where you
that
have
movie was so slow to me. I thought the movie was so boring when I was a little kid, because it's like black and white, and there's like the only score that they have in it is Johnny Comes Marching Home, and you're just like, when I was a kid, I just didn't get it. I didn't get what it was, and the lines, the great lines like, "Gentlemen, there's no fighting in the war room." The all those.
Yeah, it just
lines,
kind of goes completely over your head.
Completely over my tiny little shrunken head, and it was. But then I saw it again, and I had to like force myself to realize that it was brilliant, and for that exact reason.
Yeah.
You start to see that Peter Sellers is multiple characters. He was supposed to be more characters too.
Yeah, he was, but I think he was originally supposed to be, was it Major Kong?
Yeah.
But he didn't think he could do the accent. I think he didn't think he could do the accent in time.
That's what he thought. Yeah. I mean, but who knows? I mean, like, he was a crazy guy.
Yeah.
Peter Sellers.
Yeah. Are you a big fan of his?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, you kidding me?
Oh yeah.
I love his what is it? His like Shakespearean readings of Beatles songs.
Oh, what's that?
She loves you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like he'll get dressed up. We could look at the video if you want, but like
Sure.
it's like he dress up in like a rough like Richard III. It's like he'll do like a Royal Shakespeare Company impression of that. There's so many like good little tidbits, but yeah, a total big Peter Sellers fan. Absolutely. You got into him?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So is that like so you got into him like later, but you remember seeing him when you were younger?
Oh man, like the Muppet Show. I saw him first on the Muppet Show. And what I remember about the Muppet Show, and this is just maybe my personality. I've noticed this about myself, that like I have sort of an obsessive personality that like I keep like I always love, like I remember the things from when I was a kid, but I always love going back and like finding every single thing about them. So the episode that he was on the Muppet Show, I remember that there was an interview that he did. He did an impression of. He comes out as Queen Elizabeth. They knock on his door and they say, "Mr. Sellers, you're on now." And he opens up the door and he's just dressed as Queen Elizabeth. He says, "Oh, I don't think I'm ready yet." And he's like put in there like, "What? Who is this? Isn't Peter Sellers, right?" And the story behind that. I think this is so fascinating and so telling. I got this later when my mom bought me the VHS of that one episode. The story was that it was supposed to be just a straight interview, and the writers were like, "Hey, so I think they'd run it similar to Saturday Night Live, where they like talk to the guy and they like with Muppets, obviously, and they talked to the special guest and they're like, oh, this is what we want to do, is we were thinking for you. So they interviewed him. And they were like, there's this one section that we want to do. It's called The Wall, where we just have like Kermit there. You probably remember this. There was like one with Gilda Radner they did, and it was just like basically very similar, like Kermit the Frog in front of a wall, asking funny little questions and making the Muppet thing. It brings you into the whole world. And they wanted to do that with Peter Sellers. And he said to them, his response was, no, it means I'd have to be myself. No, please, don't make me be myself. Make me be anyone. Queen Elizabeth. Anyone. I said, well, all right, we'll make you Queen Elizabeth.
That's really interesting to me.
The one thing that Peter Sellers did not want to be
is himself.
Was himself.
That's fascinating.
There's so much to that.
Yeah. I think that's a common thing, among
There's a Jeffrey Rush
actors.
movie. Have you seen the Life and Times of Peter Sellers? Life and Death of Peter Sellers?
I know. I don't think.
Oh man, it's great. Jeffrey Rush plays him, and he plays him in he plays also the different characters of his life.
Yeah,
it's so good. And Jeffrey Rush is like, there's nobody else who could play Peter Sellers. There's nobody else in the entire world. I'd recommend that if you want to like sort of peel back the onion on who Peter Sellers was. I mean, that's a good place to start.
That's good. I'll have to check that. That's an interesting theme, I think, because I think, and I don't know if you feel this way. Do you ever think that sometimes there are, and maybe not everybody, but there are a lot of performers who use their art to kind of distance themselves from who they are, or to keep people from seeing who they really are?
Totally.
But that's also, by doing that, they are connecting to people. Like I think
they're connecting to a version that's safe, to a version that they feel they control. I mean, to go back to Mark Maron, I don't know if you're recording that conversation. I remember Mark Maron, but what Mark Maron says is like, and I think every comedian has a different version of this that they say, where it's like, I did comedy so that I could control when people were laughing at me.
Yeah,
and I think that there's an element of control there with creating a character, a mask, if you will. But there's a difficulty there that this is my own personal belief that I think that I'm sort of along with Peter Sellers, that I almost think this is my I don't know if you want to get this deep too soon, but personal belief.
Deep's what I like on this show. Deep's what I'm going for on this show. The show's called Awesome and Disaster.
Awesome and Disaster. Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, like Awesome and Disaster. Is that that's Awesome and Disaster?
That's really what I'm gonna go with. Yeah,
that's I like that a lot.
Thanks,
how long did that take you to come up with?
I've had that idea for a while. So
Awesome and Disaster with Will Carey, or
Awesome and Disaster
Will Carey presents
with Will Carey.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
and Disaster.
Just because I think I sort of view it, and I did this in one of the intros for one of the other episodes, I think with Benel Jermos and
cool dude. Cool dude. He's one who, to talk about Benel and to say nothing bad about him, he's one that I couldn't stand for such a long time because, and I think everyone would say this, is that his persona is so hard to take.
Right.
it's the kind of thing, and these, it's weird for me, and I don't know why I don't learn this every single time, but the people who I initially hate,
Right.
and who I initially just feel like, that guy, I'm not going to ever be friends with that guy. Later, once I see their humanity, they end up being some of my favorite people.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, because you see the mask,
right?
You
Which
see
makes me think I would totally get
they're-
into an abusive relationship, just hands down, like
Right.
somebody, like a woman's coming along, be like, oh, I hate to punch me in the face, just be like, that would 100% I'd be on board with that,
Yeah,
forever.
you could see falling
Because I could see
pattern.
falling, absolutely, 100%. But wait, so I want to ask you, so before we get too far down the rabbit hole, which is the name of another podcast I like, do you have a form to the Awesome and Disaster? Are we talking about Awesome and Disaster, or is that?
I generally like to talk about both, and I also want to get to know you, Sam Z.
Totally.
Because that's what I was thinking about, how I could apply that title to an interview show. Is that's what I basically think life is a series of either awesome or disaster. It's like a scale, and you're kind of either on one side, or you're on heavily on one side, heavily on the other, or you're kind of if you're lucky, sort of in the middle.
Right on.
That's sort of what I was going for, and I love the
Where are you right now?
deep shit like this. Where am I?
Yeah.
I'm leaning more towards awesome.
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah.
A couple months ago was maybe more the other
Disaster?
way. But things are good right
Was
now.
there a thing that changed?
Well, just started doing more things. Kind of got a little bit of a control on my personal life and my relationship with my parents. That's something that's changing. That's changing really radically, and I'll want to ask this about your life too, because also don't put a pin in this so I don't not answer it.
It was a bubble. Sorry.
Bubble.
Bing.
It'll work
That's
as
the
well.
pin noise.
When we first met, was I the guy that you think I'm never going to be friends with that guy, or
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Cool. Good. It would have been because if the answer is yes, that's okay. But
I can tell you, if you want to know, I can tell you exactly what I thought. I'd have to roll back my memory a little bit, but I can think through what it was that I thought when I first met you.
Because
my general feeling is that when I first met you, I thought this guy is going to be hard to get to know because he seems shy, and
I'd say that.
I was definitely trying to figure out a way to come to you on your terms rather than blow everything over. I have a tendency to do that sometimes where I just come in with way too much energy. I'm telling jokes and laughing and what's up with you? What the fuck? And I find that I have that effect on people, and I'm always trying to be more sensitive to that, because I used to be a shy person. I used to be incredibly shy, just painfully shy. And I changed. I wouldn't say, no, this is sort of going back to my point before about the masks, that I wouldn't say that I changed too much. I think that I actually my theory of life, you talk about awesome and disaster, my theory of life, which sort of goes back to sort of versions of the Italian theater.
Sure.
Is that we are all just a series of masks. And
Right.
This is something I stole from Luigi Pirandello, a really great playwright, who said that we're you wear this mask all day. You go wearing a mask, and
Sure.
you call your mask your clothes, call your mask your demeanor, whatever it is. It's all a mask. But you tear away that mask, and there's another mask.
Yeah.
Tear away that mask.
There's another mask.
There's another mask. There's just an infinite series of masks that you can never get to the core of who a person is. And I think that is the closest, I believe, to a life theory. And that disturbs some people. It disturbs some people that I think that, but just what I'm saying before, it actually, to me anyway, feels more empowering, because I can be a shy person, and then later I can realize, oh, wait a second, that was just a mask that I was wearing, because I grew up with that. That's not who I am. Who I am, nobody gets to know what that is. Nobody gets to see that person.
Right. Well, that's fucking great shit.
Is it?
No, that's really fascinating.
Well, it's not mine. It's Pirandello's.
Well,
so.
I that makes a lot of sense, and I definitely, it's because a lot of the masks I think are self-protection, because we've been, by the time you meet
here's
an
the
adult,
point where I differ with you. Actually, I'm going to stop you there only because I'm a rude person, and also because I need to make a clarification here.
Sure.
The masks that a mask does not protect. It can, but it's not intended to protect. The intended purpose of a mask is to augment, is to make something bigger, some aspect of your personality. So it's possible that maybe a secondary or tertiary purpose of whatever mask you've got going on, the when I first met you, that you were being shy, it's possible that was, as a secondary solution, covering up some parts of yourself that you didn't want to show, that I wouldn't be able to guess what they are. But more likely, I feel, where that was coming from for you was, I just want to be shy right now. This is the part of my personality that I want to show off right now. I don't give a shit about the other things that I'm scared of. This is the person that I want to be. This is the mask that I'm wearing right now.
Yeah, that's definitely the mask I wear a lot.
I'm trying to think the exact moment when we met, because that would, I think, give us a lot of clues
as to what that is. Because that's definitely, I think that's definitely the mask I wear in most new situations or with most new people, is that I definitely take a long time to warm up to people, and I definitely take a long time to be, I don't want to say open, because I'll be pretty open, but maybe I'm just being like surface open. You know,
I feel you, bro. I feel you, bro.
Like, it takes the time before we get to like the hugging and crying part,
like how long? Like 30 minutes?
Yeah, like
35,
45, depends on how many drinks. I'll tell you, I think because I definitely remember, I believe we met at the since closed Two Moon Cafe.
Yeah. Oh man, that place.
Great place.
That place. It wasn't open for longer than like a year and a half, but man, what an impression it made on like a group of people.
So many people.
I feel like that's the great undiscovered comedy gem of the city of Brooklyn. I
agree. Because it was at a time when most of the other really good like comedy venues that weren't called Union Hall or the Bell House were closing.
Yeah.
And that was like one of the last ones. And then we were like, oh, well, I guess we're all going back to Queens or Manhattan.
One of us is going to write a book. Or like someday Mark Maron is going to interview Joyce Pizzarelli, And Danielle, what was her name? I forget her name. But it was Joyce and Danielle.
Yeah,
and
Joyce and Danielle.
There might have been another one. But they're going to interview those two women. And they're like so not about comedy. They're just about baking cookies. Like, I don't know. I mean, I thought the guys were really nice. Like, they were. We just really like the arts. And like, we wanted to share our lives with them. Like, we were just really, I don't mean to make fun of them. But I think they're such wonderful people. And that's the other thing I think about that's interesting about an impression. We were talking about impressions before. I think that you can't do an impression of somebody without just a little bit of love. Without definitely. And probably a lot of love. The more love, the better. This is something that Michael McKean talks about with like his impressions, is that like with all the people that he makes fun of, with any person that he like lampoons, it has to come from a place of, you care about that person. I love this guy. I understand you, and now I'm going to become you.
Definitely. It's the same way with roasting. If you're just telling like hurtful jokes can
I tell you a story? Can I tell you a story about I got roasted the other night?
Yes.
Yeah. Finish your thought, though.
Like, if you're telling mean jokes at someone you hate, it'll come off as pointed. But if there's a certain level if you do have a certain amount of love, or that's not even the right word, but a certain sense of levity about the person, then you can approach it with a certain good humor, as opposed to it just being like a total bully fest.
100%. So can I tell you a story about how I got roasted the other night and got really sad? So I was at Jimmy Hoffman's show. He does I don't know if you ever have Sunday nights free, but it's like
sometimes
you can get a 10-minute set. Do you know Jimmy?
I don't know if it is.
He's a cool dude. He's got a really deep voice. This is Jimmy. He's like, now I'm here, and Jimmy is down here. Tell me the tiger level. Like, they're great, And he does a show. It's sort of midway between a show and a mic. It reminds me of some of the shows that I used to do in Chicago, where it's like it's called a show and they'll promote it as a show, but like you go and you just sign up, kind of thing. And he'll have he'll have like folk acts there. He'll have other people, all sorts of weird stuff. But there's this one woman. I went up. I did my set, and I always like that room. It's always a good room. It's always good for me. It gives me the warm fuzzies. I sat back down, and the woman who went up next to me, went up after me. She starts doing her bit, and you can sort of tell that she's got that. She's of that genre of comedian that I think is very common in Brooklyn. That's just like
sort of
a
like
50-year-old woman smoking a cigarette,
like
being
a big
like,
brassy woman.
Who gives a shit? Kind of
like,
thing. Yeah.
Oh, honey, I've been somewhere.
Mean, but like younger. She was maybe like 4 years older than I am, kind of thing. If I had to guess.
Okay, so young and mean.
Younger and mean, and just like bitter.
Doesn't take any shit.
Take any shit from anybody, but also like there was a quality to it. Maybe she read this on my face, but the thing that bothers me about so many of those people is that none of those people, if you look into it, they may say they're not going to take any shit, but you have to really earn that. You have to really earn that. That's one of those personas that you really have to. You have to get up there and you have to say. You can't just go up on stage and say, I know everything about life. There's a reason why Louis C.K. took until he was 40 to be able to get done what he's getting done, because there's a wisdom that he has. And he says this in his own bits.
And you kind of have to get your ass handed to you a bunch of times and be humbled before you have the ability to do that, I think.
Absolutely. And there was one point where she just was going around the room and sort of like picking on people. And I've got blue hair right now, by the way. This is important for the story. She's going around picking on people, like the guy, the cute girl who's working at the bar, and the guy with the guitar, just like,
Sure.
Oh, hey, I just hated your song. And she's making fun of these two guys who are talking in French. And then she looks up at me. I wasn't even looking. I was like writing something down, and she just says, "Hey, Smurfette." And I'm like, what? At first, I didn't realize.
Hacky insult, by the way.
Well, yeah, because Smurfette was blonde.
Yeah.
Right? Which I couldn't say, And I don't know this person. I don't know this person from Eve,
Sure.
And I do my sort of clown thing. The sort of my clown background is like, what's the best thing to do when somebody is berating you is just to like kind of play dumb, So I I look over my shoulder. I'm like,
what?
You talking to me? Who's you talking to? And she just says, yeah, I'm talking to you. I'm looking right at you. And I look at her, and then it was one of those things I couldn't remember what she was saying to me because I was just so incensed. You know what I mean? I was so embarrassed and just so...
It just started kind of spiraling.
And scared, too, that I just was like, oh, man. And I had to go outside. And listen, I love the insult comedy. I love
Sure.
Life is mean and comedy needs to be mean too. I think that no matter what, comedy is going to hurt somebody's feelings.
Yeah.
It just so happened that I was the guy that night and I went outside.
Whose feelings were getting hurt.
And man, it tore me apart. I was outside just standing there for a while thinking all sorts of bad thoughts. You know how sometimes when something like that happens, you sometimes just go to your dark place. Maybe this is my disaster. I would just I felt my arrow right on disaster. It was hitting it. It was hitting up against. It was hitting up against the glass. It was steaming up and cracking and just man, it was like.
And then all of a sudden you're you're putting your shy mask on again.
Totally, absolutely, and that's why I think I had to step outside because I don't want to do that. I don't want to. I was having a good time up to this point, I was feeling good. I was feeling good about my set, and I was feeling good about I was hanging out with a good friend. And Jimmy's a fantastic guy. You got to get to know him. I think you'd like him. He's a cool dude. It was a trip. It was a real trip,
man. Because that I really relate to you on that because that
because you're tall. You're the one who always
I get called out get called out for being tall all the time, and just that feeling of just that overcoming dread of embarrassment.
Right.
Like I remember being the last time I really had that, like I was in 4th grade and someone told me I got my name had been called during an assembly, so I walked on stage and my name hadn't been called, and it was in front of like the entire, I don't know if it's the entire school, but it was like the entire 4th grade class, and I just wanted to like just run out the school and just keep going. And just like, okay, maybe in like 5 years I can come back and finish this year out.
Right.
That's ultimately where that, and maybe that's part of where the default shy or like poker face. Like I've been told I have a very good poker face. Like it's hard to read me because I'm trying not to give anybody any ammunition.
Who tells you that?
My girlfriend sometimes. My roommate will tell me that sometimes, which is odd.
Is it a compliment or do you think it's an insult? Or do you think it's somewhere in between the two?
I think it varies depending on the situation. Definitely, if it's like a conversation with my girlfriend, it's usually a problem.
Jesus, Will, give me something here.
Give
me something.
Happens,
I just told you.
And that right. And I think in the context of relationships, that's where it starts to it starts to read as like, because they're not getting if they're not getting anything, they're gonna try to figure it out. So they're gonna so they might get mad at you based on what they figured out, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, no, this.
Yeah.
So I try to be better at being very clear with what I think and what I do a lot of the time, Sam. So you're
what you do and what you think. I mean, that's philosophy right there. That's the history of.
Right, and matching the two up.
Yeah, like
so that they're like,
is there a connection?
Yeah, is there a connection?
To be or not to be, whether 'tis noble in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune.
That's one of my favorite.
Against the sea of troubles, or by opposing them. Yeah,
that's one of my favorite lines of Shakespeare from one of my favorite plays of Shakespeare that I.
You're a Hamlet guy.
Glommed onto. Yeah, I would say I'm a Hamlet guy over a Maccabee guy or. The other tragedies.
Okay, sure. You like all the tragedies?
Yeah. I like all the tragedies. Like, I'm referring to the Scottish play as Maccabee.
Because you're afraid of saying Macbeth.
I heard. Yeah, I'm afraid
because
of saying
you're a
Macbeth.
coward.
Yeah. I'm a shimmering coward. Again, going back to the
tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, brief candle, life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his weary life upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Jesus Christ, that was reaching back. Man, that was like college.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now this is where I want to start peeling.
I just had to see if I could go there. I just had to see if I could pull that out. I don't think I got it word perfect, but I think it was close.
That was impressive. I don't have them loaded off the top of my head like I used to, but that was good.
Yeah.
And now
this is the weird thing about me. I have some of those weird little pieces of ammo, those little bits of explosions once in a while. Yeah.
Yeah. When the shy mask is off.
Well, I think that's why So to be honest, I think that's why I started getting into performing is because I loved memorizing lines.
When did you get into performing?
I was 7 years old, and I loved memorizing lines. That was my thing. Is that I could not get enough of memorizing shit. Mm-hmm. And to me, it was for a little shy kid, for a little kid who just didn't know how to communicate. I was like, oh well, here's words that I can say. I don't have to do the words myself. I can just read someone else's.
How to communicate? That's what comedy definitely was for me because that's the only way I could communicate.
When did you get into comedy?
I got into comedy, believe it or not, my senior year of college.
Dope.
I think I was 20. I've been doing it 8 years, so 21. It was October 2007, and I could make people laugh. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, we're both 29. So yeah, we're about
What's your
we're
birthday?
the same age. April 23rd.
Oh, okay, you're a little older than I am. I just turned 29.
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
Good times.
Yeah.
But yeah, and making people laugh is how I could communicate with them because I had a hard time communicating with them in conversation.
I imagine you were like the what's the word? The silent but deadly type.
Yeah.
Like, imagine people would invite you to parties and like you wouldn't say very much, but they invited you there because they were like, everyone's a party. Like, they'd know, like, oh, Will's gonna have a good stinger. Like, he's gonna say the really funny thing. You know what I mean? Was that true? Do you think?
It's, to a certain extent, like if I didn't have the good singer, then I was just the guy who was like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
That everyone would keep saying that to.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely the one who would hang back and then only say when he had something like just really kapow.
Yeah.
Awesome to say.
Yeah.
So you're 7 years old. You grew up in Chicago?
No, sir. I spent 4 years in Chicago.
4 years in
I have
Chicago.
4 years in Chicago. Just enough to pick up an accent if I need to.
Okay.
But I grew up in Massachusetts.
What part?
Well, so how familiar are you with the area of Massachusetts?
If it's near Boston, I have
the
an idea.
head. So Boston is a little south of where I am, like 30. But I grew up in North Andover, Massachusetts, which was originally Andover, Massachusetts, which was one of the some of the earliest settlements in Massachusetts, the like Puritans and all that kind of stuff. Tons of Puritans. We killed a shit ton of witches.
So you're just again going into Macbeth is just burning witches.
I think that's probably why, and maybe that's why I love all the occult stuff. I just found out my mom is part of a goddess group, and I could not be prouder of her. Yeah, I think that's so fucking rad. I mean, like again, like not too religious, not too. You know, I don't necessarily believe in magic, but you know, on the other hand, like there's some mystery to life that like I just love. I'm totally tickled by that stuff. By like by the anything that is too weird for anybody to handle.
Too weird or anything that defies like rational.
Anything that defies exactly for sure. Yeah.
Makes things a little more interesting.
Right. That's why I think going back, like I can't stand the hardcore militant atheistic movement. It's just like. It just seems like no fun to me. It just seems like
I don't think it was. I didn't think it was.
They kill fun. Richard Dawkins hates fun.
hates fun. And that's why like I have this bit
respect for science, respect for Neil deGrasse Tyson, like all that shit. But like Neil deGrasse Tyson knows how to have fun. I feel sometimes he can be a killjoy.
Right. Well, and then also like the Christian youth pastor who's going to pull out his acoustic guitar at a party and sing you a song.
Yeah.
That guy is at least, I think, a little bit more fun to be around than the militant atheist who's going to quote Nietzsche all night.
Right.
And again, these are blank.
Man, did you see the thing that Neil deGrasse Tyson posted on like Star Wars and how scientifically accurate it is? I'm like, dude, like, of course it's scientifically inaccurate. That's the whole effing reason.
Right.
That's like people do not go to Star Wars
for scientific accuracy or for the plot to make sense 100%.
Man, why do you got to do that every step of the way? Like, oh, Game of Thrones, dragons didn't exist in Darwin's imagination.
Yeah, what's like everybody's status about Star Wars wasn't that good or it was really B-, and you should like. First of all.
You mean the 7? Number 7?
Talking about number 7. First of all,
such a good time.
Yeah, I enjoyed it
such
immensely.
A great time. Yeah.
The reason I'll say I think it's a good movie is because it brought me a tremendous amount of joy watching it, and then like a really good meal, I wanted more immediately.
Totally. I cannot wait for the next one.
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna think about it and debate it and have ideas about what they're going to do until I see it.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with you. It's the meal thing was right. To me, it was. I would say that it felt a little bit more like a really mealy snack. Mm-hmm. Like maybe like
a hearty dip.
Like a really nice like a 7-layer dip. You know,
absolutely,
kind of thing. Where it was just like I ate too much of it, and I think that was part of it for me too. Is that because I spend so much time on social media, like that's my career, like that's what I do. It's unavoidable. Like every day there was a new Star Wars thing, so I was a little bit over the 7-layer dip by the time I got to the movie. You know, but then I got there, had the time of my life, remembered again that I threw up. Had some more 7-layer dip, was like, this stuff is awesome! Threw up again, and now I feel good about it. You know, that's how I feel about Star Wars right now.
Yeah.
I was done with it, now I'm into it again. Now, like, I'm still very, like, nervous about how much more there's going to be, because there's going to be so much more stuff that's thrown up online when Rian Johnson gets his hands on it, and I cannot wait. Like, it's going to be amazing. But still, I'm like, I kind of want to, like, set up some kind of a filter if possible, as if like Facebook rolls those out.
Oh yeah. Oh, I just go. I was dark on the internet for like 4 days until I saw it.
I don't care about spoilers.
Were you a big Star Wars guy?
No. I mean, here's the thing: is
because I'm trying to trace the.
I have Star Wars. A shady Star Wars past. There's like maybe a couple of months in my life, like a year in my life. There was a year in my life where I was like, I tried to be, because that was the mask that I was wearing, because I thought that these were the people who would accept me. These are the people who would be
the
cool
Star Wars,
the Star Wars kids. Yeah.
What year was that? How close was that to 7 when you were getting really into memorizing things?
Oh, age of 7.
Yeah, how close was your Star Wars that Star Wars year?
Oh, the Star Wars thing didn't happen. I didn't see the movies until the re-releases, until like the re-releases came out on VHS. Like, it wasn't even, I didn't go to the theater to see them. They came out on VHS.
So like late 90s?
Yeah, I guess that's what it was, right? Yeah, it was like 1999
I think so.
or 1980 was when they released New Hope in theaters and then released
it was like 97 to like 99, something like that.
See, I can't even pin the year. And then I saw them. I was like, oh, these are really cool. But I wasn't, again, like I think I saw New Hope and I waited like a year or two before seeing Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And even then, it was just because, like, I think Episode 1 was coming out. I was like, well, I need to catch up. I need to go see them, And then my friends were, like, really into Episode 1. Episode 1 came along. I wasn't that into it, but, like, I went to see it with friends and stuff.
Yeah.
And then my friends started getting really into it. They had the Monopoly. They had the Legos. They had the T-shirts. They had the fucking whatever. And then, like, I think the second one was when I, like, maybe... I don't think I went in costume, but I definitely went with people who were in costume. Yeah. To, like, the IMAX theater,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
For a second viewing of it. I definitely went to the second one. And here's the weird thing, Will Carey. This is something I admit. This is something I readily admit.
Sure.
I liked them.
The prequels?
The first 3 movies? The episodes 1 through 3? I recognize now that, like, why it is that they make people angry and why, like, I don't think I ever have to see them again.
I think I do too.
Seeing them in a theater, I was so excited. I was so excited that there was nothing that was going to make me... It's like the Harry Potter movies. Like, if you were going to show me a Harry Potter movie, I'd watch it. Like, they're all so fun. Like, I don't give that much of a shit about it, but, like, I would watch a Harry Potter movie right now. It was just like such joy to see all of that stuff. And I understand that, like, that it was really, like, trashy... CGI. I understand that, like, we're not supposed to like Jar Jar Binks, but I had a good time seeing those movies.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Maybe I'm dumb, but I did. Yeah.
Well, don't let anyone make you feel dumb for liking something, because
you're right. Thank you.
What I think at least is, and then I'm gonna get into your mind. I think that those movies were just. I think the reason people didn't like them is because they weren't enough of what the trilogy was. Those are 3
and I think
different
that's
movies from what the original trilogy is.
I think that is accurate.
The original trilogy is more of their quests. They are somebody or ultimately, like, if you follow Luke, like, he's a normal guy who finds out he's extraordinary.
Right.
Whereas the prequels I think are more like, I don't want to use the phrase soap opera, but there's more political machinations.
It's a lot of bureaucracy
involved, and bureaucracy.
The first conversation they have in the movies is about, like, the alliance and the Federation
and the Trade Federation.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't care about it. I didn't understand any of that when I always wanted to go see it.
Oh yeah, I didn't understand it at all.
Yeah.
But because I recently rewatched them all, I can still say, there's a lot that I don't like, but then there's still some cool stuff. I don't think I need to see them again, but I'm still excited going forward, and there's the cool parts that are paid off later.
Yeah.
So let me see if
were you always a Star Wars guy?
When I was 9, it was when my best friend showed me him, and I was like, okay.
You were like, wow.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool, and then I've just gotten.
This is a whole different universe.
I agree. Look at my shoes, man.
Oh, dope. That's dope. Those are painted.
These are painted. Yeah.
Who painted that?
An artist in England.
That is dope, dude. We gotta tell everybody what's on your shoes right now. You've got the
yes. I have my
2 droids.
I have R2D2 and BB-8 on one side of my shoe. Yoda's on the other side.
Let's see, can you
of
turn
my
your,
my right foot.
Yeah. Can you dislocate your ankle to? Thank you. Oh, that's dope.
And
that's
then
dope.
On the other side, I've got Darth Vader and the Death Star.
Man. Did your girlfriend get you these?
Yes.
You got a good ass girlfriend.
Yes,
man.
I do.
You got a good ass girlfriend.
Yes, I do. I do. I gotta lock that. I gotta lock that shit down this year.
Shit. Oh
this
man,
year,
put a ring on. I mean, I don't mean to like make it uncomfortable, but if you like it, man, you know what to do.
No, yeah. We're locking that shit down this year. So, Sam.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah.
Here's kind of what I want to know. So you're 7 years old and you start finding that you enjoy memorizing lines and things like that.
Yeah.
What are sort of the things that you are memorizing around this time, and then how does this start leading
Susie
into
Mouse
performance?
Needs a Spouse. That was my first play.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a play called Susie Mouse Needs a Spouse.
Okay, so you're an actor first.
Yeah. I was
Me too.
I was doing like kids theater, the YMCA kind of stuff. You know,
cool.
It was like, we cleared out the rec room. You know, put all the crayons to the side and
Definitely.
tables and stuff. You know, always different shapes of tables. That's what I remember. They were like star shaped tables and whatever. You know, where'd those go?
Mm-hmm.
I cleared those away and had our parents come. You know, for me, actually, it was two things. It was about memorizing lines and wearing a costume. I really liked wearing a costume.
Uh-huh.
Wearing like the mouse costume was just like so dope to me. I could not get enough of myself.
Yeah. Killer. So you did a lot of theater from an early age.
Yeah. I was hooked, and it became clear to me that like all the other stuff that I was doing was not as cool to me. Like this was the thing that I did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I did a lot of theater, and like God bless my parents because they were they were going through a horrible divorce at that time, and
Mm-hmm.
I think they really took a lot of joy in how much joy I was getting out of it,
Right.
the theater that I was doing, and like carting me around to like kids shows and stuff, and it caused me a lot of stress too because I had such an idea of like what I wanted to be, but I knew that it was something that I needed to do. I knew that this was like when I was 7 years old that this was
Mm-hmm.
like what I was going to do with my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I knew relatively, probably a little bit later than that, but like my first play I did, I was like, okay, this is the thing I like, because I enjoyed going to rehearsal.
What was the first play?
First play was The Man Who Came to Dinner.
Oh shit!
That's
the comedy.
Yeah.
I think it's a Pulitzer Prize winning comedy by Kaufman and Hart, right?
Yeah, I believe so. And I was, it's just a
Funny
small
guys.
part. Yeah, really funny guys.
Show. Yeah.
And then I did, and then in the spring I did Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it was like alternating, like a comedy play, and then musicals. And then I was just I enjoyed this process. I enjoyed this process
Did you have a
more.
solo in Singing in the Rain?
I
Make 'em laugh, make 'em laugh. No?
My best friend who got me into acting and Star Wars.
Yeah.
He was Cosmo, I think.
Got it.
If I'm
Did he climb up the wall? Did he?
Well, we had like a projector of a train about to run him over.
Whoa, yeah.
And the cool thing about that production, and this is because I was doing tech as well, because my high school theater teacher was like, you guys are gonna do a bit of everything.
Yeah, that's what I did too.
We made it rain.
Yeah.
Like we had like soaker hose, and it was able to rain into troughs on stage. And
like,
that's
did your
what
high
just
school
really
have
blew
money,
my
or
mind.
did you just make that like on a budget? You just were like, went to the hardware store and got some.
Yeah, went to Ace Hardware, got a hose and some PVC.
Yeah.
And
because you
and
can't
made
do
it
Singing
happen.
in the Rain without fucking rain. You
It
know what I
has
mean?
to.
Like, you gotta just have some rain.
Oh yeah, I agree. It absolutely has to, and
One of those things.
that's what really. That's the first time I remember being really excited
Yeah.
about something. Because, like, I was playing sports, but I wasn't really, like, excited about it.
Yeah. Me too.
And that's when I got really... And that's the first thing I got really excited about
I was made
doing.
fun of in sports. Did you get made fun of?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got made fun of a lot in sports. And I, like, theater was the place where I wasn't made fun of.
Same here.
Yeah, and like that was the place where I felt like I could be accepted, and it gave me, the scripted thing. And I also was I think this was so important. I think that every kid who's interested in theater or performing of any kind should be forced to do this. That I was also in a program from a very young age where we did everything. We made our own costumes. We made our own sets. And it was like something that I still think back on, and I'm like, I have an appreciation for everything that goes into this now. I know,
absolutely.
Like, and I don't know necessarily like what a costume designer does all the time, but if I need to get into
appreciate the work.
yeah, like it fucking takes a lot of work, and also just it was so fun. Like it was so much control that we had over it, and it's like there's just the general feeling of like everybody coming together and like putting shit together and painting shit and like, oh my god, we're not ready, but it's us, it's all of us. It's not just the costume person. It's like you made yourself, you made your own bed, you need to lie in it, kind of thing.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
so much of a sense of responsibility, and I think it should be for sports too. I think that like kids should like take turns carrying the bats and like,
No,
like
yeah, I
serving water
agree.
to each other and just like anything. I'm a fucking commie. That's what I am.
No,
you
yeah,
know?
I agree. And because like I think if I had gotten fostered that same sense of community in sports that I did in theater, I probably might still be trying to play. Might have gone and still tried to play.
I just found in Japan they don't have janitors in most of their public schools. That they have
Yeah, the students
the
do
students
it.
clean it, which is like, wow. Wouldn't
Yeah.
that be the best?
Yeah, I think
Wouldn't
it would
that be
definitely.
so good?
Yeah, it would definitely. I think it would definitely instill it definitely instills a sense of responsibility that maybe
Yeah.
some people miss.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
Because it's not going to happen unless someone does it.
And-
It just doesn't. I think it's like growing up as a kid. I don't know if you ever like befriended any janitors, but
oh yeah,
I would always befriend janitors. But it was the kind of thing where it was like it was initially kind of a scary thing because janitors in schools like do represent this sort of weird. They're like ghosts almost. Like you're there late after school. You see a guy vacuuming or whatever. Like you're scared. It's like a big noise. It's like, what is this guy doing? And you don't realize that like as a student, that is for you. Like that is your servant, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that like once I started to get past that, I was like, I gotta talk to these guys. And then what happened was that because I was doing theater in school, getting to know the janitors and like learning their names meant that like if they were around and I was like late for a rehearsal or something like that and needed to get access to some closet or whatever, they just like open it for me. They were just like,
Yeah.
they were the ones who actually knew where all the shit was, you know?
First most important lesson I was ever taught doing theater in high school is in the real world you make friends with the janitors, the support staff.
Yeah.
Because
The secretaries too. Secretaries are
Secretaries.
really important because they're the ones who run the world.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Secretaries, assistants, because they're gonna be your boss.
Yeah,
someday.
yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
100%. Because your boss may have some kind of power, but he doesn't know how much power that the guy who's carrying the keys has. You know?
Right. Can't have
Yeah.
the show if the lights aren't on. Can't have the
Absolutely.
show if you can't get
100%.
in the theater.
Yeah.
So when does it come? When does comedy come into it for you?
Yeah, I mean, comedy was always there. I remember my dad was always big on. He was trying to like, single dad trying to find ways to relate to his kids after the divorce, and I remember one of the things he tried to set up was he was really big on consistency. So he tried to like do like a movie night on Friday nights, and he would always
Yeah.
get like a classic. He tried to make it a classic movie. So we saw a lot of comedy. We saw a lot of Charlie Chaplin, Marx Brothers, Mel Brooks,
Sure.
classics kind of stuff. And I remember when we would also watch Casablanca, we'd also watch Singing in the Rain, and I remember like I liked the classic, I liked the drama stuff, but I think I really related. I just really loved, obviously like you watch Charlie Chaplin, you watch Marx Brothers, and then ultimately I think this is something that I've said before that like when I was not at my dad's house, I was at my mom's house, and she would just let me watch whatever I wanted. On TV, I would always watch cartoons, and I loved Bugs Bunny. I loved the shit out of Bugs Bunny, and I think that like from a very early age, that even like I related to Bugs Bunny, and I wanted to find a way to be him. The quality of his persona, and how sometimes that like even when he was failing at something, he still was bouncing back, and if he had to get out of a sticky situation, he just put on a wig and like would dance and sing a song or whatever, and I loved that about him. I wanted to become, I like when you asked me as a kid, like I wanted to become a cartoon. I wanted to become that, and so to me it just seemed natural. Like when I was signing up for the talent show, I was like, oh, what are you gonna do? Yeah, I'll do some stand-up comedy. I mean, I think like I'm trying to think back, like what was my first concept of stand-up comedy. I can't answer that for you because I almost think, I feel like that you can trace back the roots of stand-up comedy to like
To vaudeville.
Lenny Bruce and vaudeville and further
Oh, yeah,
back.
a lot of
but,
it.
But I think that even on a very basic level, what it is of just a guy or a girl standing up on stage talking to a group of people, there's something even more basic and more human about that I almost think that if there was not stand-up comedy for me there, I would have invented it. Not to like say too much about myself, but I just mean that any one of us would invent something like that. It's just like standing up there, making people happy, making people enjoy themselves, having a good time.
Yeah.
With like one person giving the energy, sort of leading it, and then like taking direction from the audience. I think that there's something very like, so to me it was like, if I could watch just a Bugs Bunny show, but I could just be the Bugs Bunny, that's what I wanted to be. And still, I think to this day, Freud says you'll never be truly happy until you realize your childhood dreams. I think that is 100% true. I'm not going to be happy until I sprout some ears and a fluffy cottontail. That's how I feel about it.
Oh no, I agree with you. And
Yeah.
it's going to be the same for as soon as I get my X-wing.
Excellent, man.
You know what I mean?
I'll come do a couple of spots in your X-wing. I don't know if there's enough room, but
Awesome. Well,
yeah.
you know, we can make it work.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool, man. So,
Have we covered the disaster and
No,
the
this is
awesome and the all the areas in between?
I think so. This is good because like the mask thing I think is like so critical, and especially if knowing like you like me come from a theater background, and then I know you play music also, like all these different artistic methods of expression grown out of a desire to communicate that is not having a conversation that starts with "What's up,
that is
bro?"
so true. Yeah, I didn't even think about it that way, but that's so true. Like, how can you put something in the room that isn't just blah blah blah? You know, like because
Right.
so much of life is just blah blah blah. You know, like flirting, like dating, all that stuff. The initial stages of dating, I can't stand. I'm like a terrible dater, and that's something I'm going through right now. I'm trying to figure out right now. And part of the reason is because I just hate the initial blah blah blah, where you just like sit there, you're just like, oh, it's blah 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 blah. To me, it's just that's like pulling teeth out of my face. You know,
Right.
it's so hard for me to get to that. Like, I just want to get real with people, and I think that really scares away potential mates.
Yeah, I think people are really. I think most people are really on edge by people who are really upfront or
Yeah.
really direct.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I think most people like can't handle that.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't
Which
know.
is
If
why
it's a
like I
relatively
sensed that
new
from you, and
culture.
like I was like, I like this guy. I want to this was a growth moment for me, Carey, that like I was just like I'm gonna let this guy be a slow burn. I'm gonna like not say too much. I'm not gonna put all of my bullshit onto him today. And then next time I see him, I'm gonna have another conversation with him, and I'll go see his show, and you know, it's the kind of thing where it's like it was patient. That was something that I think was new for me, and maybe not so new. I think that was maybe the person that I was before I found the new mask to put on top of the shyness. The person that I was that was kind of shy and like allowed things to be just very slow and patient.
Right. Which
so
is my normal default, and I think
Yeah.
and I think that works, and that's why I think I know you better now.
Right.
Because like I remember seeing you and I was like, oh, that guy seems kind of cool and quirky, and I like his stand up, and I love that.
Those
one
are the
bit.
two words that came to you initially, was cool and quirky.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it might have just been your hat.
No, probably.
I
I mean,
don't
I'm
know.
not taking offense to it. I'm just taking note of it
Yeah,
because it's
you
important.
struck me as the kind of guy that I think I could vibe with.
Cool. Yeah.
Which
agreed.
and I think a lot of what my problem is, maybe people read me being shy as me being like arrogant or detached a lot of times.
Sure.
Which
Yeah.
and that's something that I'm really want to work on, and I don't really quite know how is like because my girlfriend also told me on like our first date, and I thought because we had other dates that I did well, but she apparently found me really weird on our first date.
Whoa.
But then
Yeah,
she
yeah.
kind of after a couple of dates saw that she took use her words. I think he's
Why did she give
he's a
you other
pretty cool
dates
dude.
then? What made her move forward?
I think maybe she says that she just kind of wanted to, okay, I'll go on another date with him and see what he's like. In our first date, I had hair like 8-inch long hair, and then a month passed between our first and second date because she was on a campaign at the time. She used to work in politics as
Yeah.
a PR person.
Whose campaign? Can you share that? Or you know, share?
I'll tell you later.
It was just like Dennis Kucinich or something like that. Like
No, not a presidential campaign, Senate.
yeah. Okay, fair enough.
But she just kind of again, it's that same thing of like when I first meet someone, I have a lot of my I probably am playing it close to the vest.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to read.
And you've always
you.
been that way.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think I probably got hurt by like people that I would have considered friends.
Yeah,
a couple of
Yeah.
times, really, like
Totally.
at various stages, like maybe early on, and then maybe later on in like my adult life, and then just
Now your parents are saying is a relationship you're trying to work on. I'm sure that has something to do with it too.
Yeah, and that's a lot of my girlfriend and that's a lot of my girlfriend encouraging me to kind of mend that because you said your parents are divorced.
Yeah.
I don't know how you said it was bad.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. It was real bad for a
like
couple
so
years.
like really really bitter.
It's cool now, but back then it was really bad.
Mm-hmm.
It was like lots of like. I mean, I don't want to go into it. Now,
Yeah.
unless you want to ask, but
Just keep as deep as you want to go on this.
I mean, I'll go as deep as you want me to go, but I'll keep it close to my chest right now, and you can pull it out if you want to. I don't know how much time we have left, but man, there was lying. There was just a lot of lying, actually. To be perfectly honest, that
Mm-hmm.
I think that that was the thing that screwed with me the most. A lot of lying and a lot of secrets kept, and that was the thing that I think I picked up on.
Yeah, I'm having a similar thing with that because I knew what happened initially when the event happened that initiated their divorce,
Mm-hmm.
and after that, after my dad moved out, I really only heard my mom's side of the story.
Yeah.
Now, and
now you don't even get to know your dad at that point.
I don't even get to know, and all I have is just this pure bile and anger for him in my heart, and I definitely told him on more than one occasion, I will never forgive you to his face.
And this was the kid who got the story from his mom.
This is the kid who got the story from his mom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And who has strong feelings about, like cheating and things like that.
Yeah.
And
so that's what it was, infidelity.
Yeah, it was infidelity.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, and my dad would try to explain it to me, but never in a way where I got the whole picture.
Right.
It was always like I would always default to, well, yeah, but you should have just left. Come to learn 10 years later, he's remarried, and I'm now worried, and I don't mean to make you uncomfortable, but I'm now at a point where like my mom has a hard time leaving her house.
Yeah.
Like it's really difficult to get her to get out of her comfort zone.
Because she's not with anybody right now.
She hasn't been with anyone, and come to learn that, to hear the other side of the story, and granted, I'm getting it from him, from my stepmom through my girlfriend, because I think they kind of see her as a way to get through to me.
Okay.
To kind of hear the other side of the story, and I'll just kind of go ahead and I'm trying to think of how I can phrase this, because I'll probably say it all in the intro.
Okay.
To hear the circumstances that led to him committing infidelity, basically finding out that their sex life had been nothing for years and years and years. And then again, this is awkward conversation to have with your parents, but to hear how this person to hear how he can get pushed to that level, you kind of start to understand maybe a bit more of the other side of the story.
Yeah.
And then from that, you're kind of starting to see, okay, well, maybe I can, now that I know this, let go of some of that.
Right.
Because that being angry at him was defining a lot of my. I wouldn't say my behavior, but a lot of my.
What did your mother
opinion.
say? What did she tell you about it?
Well, the big kicker was that he had left on Christmas Day.
Oh man, that's a story you can go on for years.
Yeah. And it's hard to forget.
Did he go out for a pack of cigarettes, or did he actually say, "I'm leaving"? And then
no, he just said, "I'm going away for a few weeks."
And then in a few weeks turned into a year.
And the way it was framed to me was that he wanted all these sexual things that she didn't feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I always knew that money was a problem with it as well.
Yeah. Money, sex, and kids, man. That's what all marital squabbles are about. Money, sex, and
ultimately
kids.
comes down to all of that.
Yeah.
And then the other side of the coin was more or less, and again, another important thing with relationships is really open communication, even if it's uncomfortable and hurts.
Right.
After come to realize that she had just kind of shut down that part of the relationship shortly after I was born. Yeah. And that he's staying because of me, but he's trying to communicate with her, and she's not opening it up.
How'd you find that out? How'd you get that out?
This is stuff that my girlfriend tells me that they said. I guess because they I don't think
it's so weird that
I know.
Like,
and it's like I don't think
this thing in our like consciousness, our community consciousness, where it's like, it is such an important part of our lives. It is such an important part of anybody's life, sex.
Yeah.
But we're shit at sex education.
I know.
We are shit at communicating about it with our partners.
Yeah. Well, like there's some, and then like certain, and then it gets to the point where like certain desires are like, and then there's like shame attached to certain things.
Shame,
and
so
then
much shame. It's so weird. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think that's how
it's the Puritans, man. It's the fucking Massachusetts Puritans.
It's the fucking Massachusetts Puritans that we were trying to
that didn't want to have any sex anymore. Or they wanted to have sex, but only in their own way with no pleasure for the woman. And kill all the women who were actually having a good time, calling them witches.
I know.
You're a witch!
Yeah, dude, witches back in the day, man, that would have been a good time. You just become friends with a witch. That would change your 100%. Puritan life, man. Yeah, and that's
what happened. I almost feel like your dad would have like had your mother hanged.
Right. I almost feel like telling the story like this should be your show. But you really make an excellent point. So I'm glad that we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And this is still like all very fresh. This is part of processing it.
For sure, man.
Right
for
now.
Sure.
And because there's so much. Like I feel like if there was some way to remove the shame from sex and sexual and sexual desires and sexual acts, sexual orientation, straight guys who identify as straight that enjoy pegging, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like if the shame could be removed and everyone could just approach the things they like sexually the same way they like their coffee at Starbucks.
Right.
Could it reduce violence? Could it make the collective consciousness happier?
It's interesting. That's a good question. It's a good question. Can I answer it for you
Sure.
definitively? I don't think that I'm a pessimist in most senses of the word, but I don't think that even if you wanted to, and even like divorced from all that other great stuff you said about reducing sexual violence and I agree with you. That would be great if we could do that. But if the question is, can you remove the shame around sex? I don't think we can.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because I think there's a huge part of it, there's a huge fear in us that if we remove the shame, we're not going to enjoy it as much. It's not going to feel as good.
Yeah.
That is, again, where the Puritans fucked us up, because the Puritans, this is H.L. Mencken, but he said Puritanism, he defined Puritanism as something like the sneaking feeling that someone somewhere is enjoying something.
Right.
You can't have joy in your life. That's the Puritan ideal. You wear your black suit and you go to church and you do your work, and that is what God asks of you. You don't smile, you don't have a good time. Sex only for procreation, right?
Right.
And I think
like you punch a time clock and you go to work.
Exactly. Your life is your work because your reward is in heaven, right? That's where a lot of that's where evangelical thought comes from. That kind of stuff is like, a lot of American religious thought, to me anyway, comes straight from the Puritans. And the reaction to that, of course, you can't have that last forever. The reaction to that is, of course, going to be, well, how can we have joy? But then there's the two sides of the coin that still exist in the same coin, right? And I think the fear is, again, if you remove that shame from it, if you take away the shame, then it's not going to be fun. Of course it would be. Of course it would be fine.
Yeah,
Everything would be fine.
It would be.
But I think that's why we're protecting the shame, because we think the reason that we're enjoying this is because that guy over there doesn't like it. So much of American porn and like American fetishes
Sure.
are about guilt, the guilt involved with sex, the it's dirty.
Right.
It's
You're not
it's-
supposed to be doing this. This is
I'm a
taboo.
police officer. I'm gonna whip you, put you in handcuffs, kind of thing. It's
Sure.
all the
Yeah, yeah.
all that kind of shit is about the shame that we experience about it, and how can we release that? There's a release of the shame. I think all sex is some kind of a release. So like maybe American sex is about shame. Maybe like French sex is about releasing your tight ass all the time.
Maybe.
Like feeling about.
Well, I think most sex is about sex in general is like about release.
Yeah.
That's something really being and that's interesting you bring up European, because Americans like we're so uptight about sex, whereas in Europe not as much.
Yeah.
But violence we're okay with in America and Europe not as much.
Right.
Like in our TV and our movies.
Right.
I would really love to like talk to someone. God, I need the opinion. I would want the opinion of someone who's like comes from that different mindset to kind of get their
European?
head to get like European to get kind of their head around it.
And call up my friend Felix. Call up who else do I know who's from Bjork. I don't know her.
Yeah. We could call Bjork. She's very liberated.
Hello?
She's got a big voice.
Well, the thing I think about is sex is that it is very fun, but we must think about it in terms of the people doing it at the same time. When because everybody in Iceland is so. Everybody in Iceland is just related to each other, so you can't have sex with anybody unless you talk to them first and measure their DNA.
Yes, and then you reveal you discuss any of the birthmarks.
Have you seen this is not off topic at all. Have you seen green porno?
Green porno? What's that?
Oh, you got to check it out, man. I bet you and probably your girlfriend would love it too. There's
Okay.
a documentary that's on Netflix, which is good, but also all the movies are free. All the like short movies are free.
Okay.
Isabella Rossellini, she does these like she dresses up in costume, and this is like what I love so much about it, is that it's so theatrical. She has these like paper costumes that she makes. She dresses herself up as an animal, a different animal every week, and then she shows you the scientific process by which that animal has sex. And it's great. It's hilarious and like super deadpan, and like she'll like show up and she'll be like, "I am a duck." And she's like this adorable. She's the daughter of Ingrid Bergman and Rossellini. I forget his name, but he was a director. And she has this adorable voice. She's like this also powerful woman who's just like, and she worked with scientists to make sure that that everything is accurate. She'll talk about like how snails have sex. Snails are like sadomasochists. They like stab each other with these spikes they make. It's insane, but it's so good, and it's like it just makes you. It sort of reaffirms. Every time I get like depressed about a relationship or like a one night stand that I didn't intend to be a one night stand, which is more and more for me these days.
Yeah.
I go back and watch green porno, and I'm just like, you know what? There's something that's like natural about this. There's something that is real, and there's something that it runs in a cycle, and it's scientific, and it is, and that the emotional part of it is true, and I can't deny it. But at the same time, from the outside, it's just very scientific. Sex on a basic level is just very scientific. It's an exchange,
Yeah. You're kind of blowing my mind right now, Sam.
You got to check out green porno, man. It's so good.
I think I'm gonna have to do that.
So good. Yeah. It's that show blew my mind. That show blew my mind totally when I first saw it. I was like, this is where it's at.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out, because that sounds like something that I think would kind of be. That sounds helpful.
Helpful. Totally. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Learning about animals having sex.
Yeah, and
And it's way worse for animals too. Like most animals.
Oh yeah, most animals
have like terrible sexual lives.
Right.
But it's
just kind of
like the Puritans in a way. Like
Yeah.
I feel like the Puritans were trying to get back to something like primitive, something like where sex was not enjoyable, where it was like painful. It's weird that we enjoy sex.
Right. It's almost like in the sex for pleasure is sex for pleasure, relatively new idea.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things. But interestingly enough,
What was the original ad campaign for sex for pleasure? Like when they were like first coming, like, guys, we gotta.
I wonder if they're just like, all right, okay, guys.
It's gonna sell itself. We don't need an ad campaign.
Yeah.
We're just gonna get it out by word of mouth.
Yeah, it's like, all right. Now we got a problem here, and people aren't having sex because they're not enjoying it. So maybe if we just maybe we just introduce the concept of loose women. That's right. That's what we'll do. And how will we do it? And because this is the 20s, because you can tell the way I'm talking. Obviously, we'll put necklaces around them, and we'll have them, and we'll call them flappers. That's right. Yeah.
Flappers. I'll carry around this cardboard box called shaped like a Tommy gun, and then I'll make some rat-a-tat noises, and people believe that I'm a tough guy. Yeah.
Yeah, see? Which is so funny to me. If the Puritan ideal that you're not supposed to enjoy things, and yet our chosen career paths are trying to make people enjoy things that maybe they shouldn't.
I know, it's hard, and that's why it is. I have to remind myself of that every day, Will Carey. I have to remind myself of that every day because there's so much of what we do that feels so against the Puritan work ethic. It so feels like against the will of God in a way that, like, oh, what did I do today? I made some tweets and find some fun thing. Like this, I didn't do shit today. But and maybe like I'm not at this level yet, and you may be further along this level than I am. But like it sort of feels like I am better off when I remind myself that the reason I'm doing this. I have better sets when I remind myself that the reason I'm doing it is not for me, but it's for them. That I'm giving them joy. And that was what I think pissed me off so much about that girl who called me Smurfette, because I don't think that she was out to make me have a good time. A clown teacher that I had once, his theory of a good show. This is I love this so much.
Okay.
His theory of a good show is you make everybody laugh, and then they leave the show, and on the way home, the peasant is walking home, and he starts to think about it. He starts to think about how real it was. And he starts to think about, oh, maybe that was me up there a little bit. And he goes home and he kills himself. But for that one little moment, he was happy.
Yeah.
Perfect show.
Absolutely. Because we do this to the idea is that we're making people happy if
you don't want to make the guy, you don't want to call the guy Smurfette and make him angry in the moment and have to like take a moment outside. You want to make him laugh and then realize, oh, wait. Like later, like hours later, oh wait, that was me up there, and then just like, wrists. Oh, this is the worst bath I've ever had.
Right, because in that way we've connected with another human.
Right, totally. It's an extremist view. It's like a utopian ideal I have for a show. But no, you probably already have a name for your one-man show.
Oh yeah, my one-man show I'm currently calling "Laughing Through the Sad," but I'm thinking if I need to change it or not. Because I don't know if all the stories are necessarily about laughing through the sad.
Yeah.
Like another thing I was thinking.
It's one of those things you need to have like a jovial title somehow.
Yeah.
You need to have something that gets people to expect this is not going to be a boring one-man show about like real shit. There's going to be jokes.
Yeah. I don't even like calling it a one-man show. I call it a solo show.
A solo show. Okay, sure.
Because one-man show I think makes a lot of people think of just,
I don't know, man.
Like
better search engine optimization,
sets.
one-man show, searching Will Carey,
one-man
show. That's what I'm going to search for.
All right. Then, another thing I was thinking of I
Solo
might call
show.
it is Enjoying the Struggle.
Ooh, okay.
Might be a good name.
I don't know. The best one-man show that I've ever seen, my favorite guy is Mike Daisey. You should take a look through some of his titles. He's got some good titles to maybe inspire you.
Okay.
A lot of them are just like... one of the things I like is especially for like solo shows, one-man shows, is like pulling from another title or pulling the title from another work. So like he had a show called Invincible Summer, and it was his title pulled from Camus, and it was like super pretentious. And you just sit there and you're like, I understand Camus now. I haven't read anything by Camus, but I just basically read all of Camus.
Okay. Yeah. I'll have to check out Mike Daisey.
Yeah.
Because I know him. I haven't seen him live.
Oh, you haven't seen him live? Man, anytime, he hasn't done anything in a while, I think. He might have done something and didn't tell me about it, but he hasn't done anything in a while, but he's my guy. Like, that was for a while, like, what I was trying to replicate what he was doing, and then that was when I remembered about stand-up comedy, and I was like, well, what am I doing this for? I should just go back and do stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
But he's like my dude. I love that guy. He's
awesome.
So cool.
I will have to check him out because
when
I was getting into stand-up and I was doing a thesis on stand-up in my senior year,
shit.
My professor gave me Spalding Gray Swimming to Cambodia.
Yeah, we've talked about this, Swimming to Cambodia.
He's my guy. Yeah, that was the thing
Spalding
that really
Gray.
just... I had never seen like performance like that.
Yeah.
Storytelling that was theatrical.
Did he give you the book or did he
and
give you
funny.
the movie?
He gave me the movie.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
I've since read the book. And
Yeah.
if you can actually, I don't know if you go to Howl, if you are a Howl Premium member.
You can listen to it.
There's like 8 Spalding Gray monologues.
Don't you wish that he was still alive so that Mark Maron could interview him?
I
Wouldn't that be
do.
like the best thing in the world?
I would love to hear that
Man,
interview.
we should get together that guy who does a good Mark Maron impression and find somebody, or one of us learns how to do a Spalding Gray impression,
a Spalding
and then
Gray
just do
impression.
the like imagined interview between Mark Maron. That would be something, man. That would be
Yeah.
just a meeting of minds I would pay to see.
Me too, man. Because it's like, I think Maron is pretty close to. I think Maron for stand up, like, if you want to build a bridge between Spalding, I think was the most a storyteller or theatrical performer that you could put in a stand up him and like Eric Bogosian.
Yeah. I love Eric Bogosian. He was interviewed on BTF a couple weeks back.
Yes, he was.
Yeah,
I loved that episode.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to it. Like, you could, if you put Maron behind a table of a desk, because he mostly sits down now when he performs live. There's something
Does
to
he?
the yeah.
Thinky Pain, he was standing, wasn't he?
Thinky Pain, he would kind of stand, but then he would
sit down again.
his default was the stool. So I think
Interesting.
there's something
He's going
to
for the
that.
Spalding sit.
Yeah, because I want to do something, and maybe we can kind of wrap up on this, because you will have noticed a small edit because my SD card got filled up when me and Sam were having
I didn't even notice.
really awesome
When did that
conversation.
happen?
This is mostly for the whoever might be listening to this.
Is there a little bump?
Yeah. So, because I wanted to, I see trying to do something that you can put in that could be called stand up. It could also be a theater piece.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I really want to do, and that's what I'm trying to do with my one-man show right now.
Yeah, Untitled Will Carey Project.
Entitled Will Carey Project through Central Casting, seeking 20 to 35 colorblind casting, because I'm very inclusive.
Right. For a one-man show.
Yeah.
No, trust me.
That's a lot of people
It's
for
going to be
my
the first
show.
one-man show with a 20-person cast. It's going to be
And just a bunch of people playing versions of me.
all
my
speaking at the
different
same
masks.
time. Just the like saying the same exact thing at the man. That's something that somebody's got to do. It's like oh man, who would do that? I don't know who would do that. Someone
That's
weird.
like a Tim and Eric or a
Yeah.
Nathan for You kind of thing.
Yeah. Or there was 30 Helens, the 30 Helens and Kids in the Hall. 30 Helens agree. It was
I remember that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this to just kind of tie
theater,
things-
your show,
tie things
playwriting.
up here.
Yeah.
So you recently did a show that I was going to be in, but then scheduling wise we couldn't work it out. Mammoth Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
And that went well.
Oh man, it brought me back. It brought me back to just that same feeling of pure distilled joy that I had when I first was doing shit up in front of people and just running around and having a good time. Yeah.
Fantastic. Was that the first play you wrote?
No. I've written a ton of plays. I've written like way more plays than I think I would ever admit to anybody on a first date.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And
That was my thing for a while. Is that like when I decided, I don't know, there was like I was doing acting in high school because that's what you do in high school. Is
Sure.
like, you become an actor. I don't know, if you want to get involved in theater, you audition, and if you don't get in, then you whatever. But like I did have that like desire to be up in front of people and joking around and stuff.
Yeah.
But I would say that I also don't. So this is a bit that I'm working on. I have a huge ego, but a very low self-esteem. I think that's maybe the mask that I've concocted for myself these days.
Okay.
And part of that is that I will go after something 100%, a dream, but it's not going to come from me. It's going to be coming from someone else who says to me, "Oh, you're that thing." And I remember that there was a day in like my senior year in high school where like a good trusted friend of mine was like, we were, just all hanging around chatting at the 99, which is like the TGI Fridays, but just Massachusetts.
Sure.
Hanging around chatting at the 99, and he's like, we're all talking about our dreams. He wanted to be a professional jazz drummer, and he probably still, he went to think when I know you, he's like fantastic. I'm sure he still does that. He was like the best musician I have ever known. And he was just like, "Oh, so you're going to be a screenwriter, playwright, whatever." And I was like, I hadn't thought of it that way before, but like, I had always been doing like writing, and I'd always been like a part of it, and it was always sort of second to my like acting, because like sometimes you just need to write your own shit, or else it doesn't doesn't happen.
Oh yeah,
and
I'm learning that.
And for a while, like Spalding Grays. That's what Swinging to Commodity is all about. At least the personal aspect of it. He's trying to wait. He's waiting for. That's the phrase that I think sticks in my head the most. So he's like, waiting for the big machine to make up its mind. Like he says it that. I love the way that he says it. His inflection is everything. But yeah. So for a while, I think I was like, okay, clean slate, going to college, not gonna act, not gonna do any performance. I'm just gonna write plays. And that's what I wanted to do that's what I tried to do for a while. And it was so painful for me. I still did improv. I still like signed for the improv class, but I wanted to keep the two things very separate. I wasn't going to like audition for plays. I wasn't going to be like in the acting group. I wasn't being an actor or whatever. And I'm so glad that I didn't. I'm so glad that I didn't go that direction, because it did confuse me a little bit. It did put me in a little bit of that disaster area, where I did have to struggle with what it meant to be a playwright. You know, like I would read all the books. I read all the books. I read about screenwriting. I like watched a lot of movies and learned about structure and like acts and all that shit. I have all that shit, all that foundation stuff. So just to answer your question, that was not the first play. This is the problem with me. I'm sorry, Will Carey. That like when you ask me a question, sometimes I give you a 5, 10, 15-minute answer.
It's all right.
No,
man.
that is not the first play that I've written.
Cool.
No, that is not the first play that I've written. I've written a lot of. They're not good, but I've written a lot of plays.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So I've got the next play I'm going to pitch to you.
What's the next play you're going to pitch?
I want you to write.
Yeah.
And all I ask is that you just let me audition for one of the parts.
Okay. Sure.
So you've got Mammoth Christmas, right?
It was a Mammoth Christmas Carol. It was David Mamet's version of Christmas Carol. Yeah.
Okay. So
we'll put it on next year, so you can come. We'll plug it right now. But
just advance plug for December 2016.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there.
Yeah.
So the next play you do is you do a Super Mario Brothers version of Waiting for Godot.
Oh man!
So you've got Mario and Luigi,
right?
Waiting for Godot, but you don't call it Waiting for Godot. You call it Waiting for Toad.
Waiting for Toad. Yeah.
You can minimal sets. You can just have like a pipe,
right,
and a block,
right,
and then endless opportunities for Mario and Beckett related to the hilarity.
Nothing to be jumped. Right? That's what it is. Like.
Right. Think of it as, if I can present a visual metaphor to you. You ever play Mario Brothers? Or familiar with the genre?
Yeah. Like 1 through 3. It's the same thing with Star Wars. Like I've seen like I'm not huge into it, but like I've seen. Yeah.
Okay. The metaphor for this, the visual metaphor. Imagine, you stomp a turtle.
Yep.
And he's going back and forth between 2 pipes.
Yep.
And you keep going on, but he's still going back and forth
forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
That is Waiting for Toad.
That's fucking brilliant, dude. I can't write this. You've got to write this.
Well, you're my dramaturge.
Okay, sure, that's fine. I'll help you out with it.
And then you could be Mario. I'll be Luigi.
Okay, fantastic.
You're
already wearing a red shirt.
Absolutely.
I'm kind of wearing some green, but maybe in this version, Mario wears like a red shirt, and Luigi's just a nihilist. He's just wearing black all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mario. I've lost all hope in life. I think it's. I went down the park and with the pipe into the wrong place. You know,
the pipe is your own existence, Luigi.
I don't know if I'm ever gonna find the princess.
Thank you for talking to me, Sam.
Oh, Will Carey, this is a pleasure. This is a pleasure.
Excellent. I appreciate
an absolute
it, man.
pleasure. This is great. I hope there were some laughs and some cries and all everywhere in between, the disaster and the awesome.
That's what I'm going for, man. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, folks, that's the show. Thank you for listening. Please follow the links in the description to follow my friend Sam on Twitter and Facebook, all of the relevant social media platforms. And hopefully we can get this Super Mario Brothers Waiting for Godot play off the ground, because I think that would be a tremendous amount of fun. And maybe I could get on stage at Joe's Pub in the Lower East Side. Thank you very much for listening. And again, as always, check my website, willcareyisfunny.com. You can see my tour dates, find links to the episode, and I appreciate you listening. I will see you next week between awesome and disaster. Thank you.